Hello and welcome. Come in and let the day settle behind you. Whatever the hours before this one asked of you, however heavy they were, you can set that weight down now. You do not have to carry it into the night. You have found your way to the quiet part of the day at last, the part that belongs to rest, and I am glad you are here with me. Before we begin, and only if you feel like it, I would love to know where in the world you are listening from tonight. A city where the lights never quite go out, a small town gone silent hours ago, a room somewhere with the rain on the glass. Leave a gentle word in the comments and tell me where you are, so that all of us drifting off together tonight can picture the many quiet places we are resting in, scattered across the same sleeping world. And if this soft voice helps carry you down into sleep, you might leave a quiet like before your eyes grow too heavy to bother. It helps these long, slow stories find the others who need them. Now let yourself get comfortable. Pull the blanket up over your shoulder the way you like it, and let it hold a little of your warmth. Turn the pillow to the cool side if you want it. Let your arms grow heavy, and your legs grow heavy. Let your jaw unclench, and let your shoulders sink down away from your ears, lower and softer than you thought they could go. Take one slow breath in through your nose, and let it out even more slowly, like something gently emptying. And another. There is no hurry here tonight. Nothing will startle you, nothing will ask anything of you, nothing sharp or sudden is waiting. There is only my voice, and a long, slow wander through an old and gentle underground world, full of strange, kind creatures and quiet sorrows and small mercies. You can close your eyes whenever you are ready. You do not need to stay awake until the end. Falling asleep before we finish is not missing anything at all. It is exactly what this is for. So let us go down there together, slowly, into the dark beneath a mountain, into a place that is much kinder than it first appears. There is a mountain in this story called Mount Ebot. It rises alone above the world, and the people who live near it tell an old warning, passed down and half forgotten, that those who climb the mountain do not return. Something about it holds the shape of a secret, and at its peak there is an opening in the earth, a hole leading down into the dark, easy to miss, easy to fall into if you are not looking where you step. This is where the story begins, not with a battle or a quest, but with a child, alone on a mountain, who wanders too close to the edge and slips and falls into the deep. The fall is long, and the dark closes over, and then, softly, there is a landing. Not on cold stone as you might fear, but on something gentle. The child wakes on a bed of golden flowers, growing in a patch of pale light that falls from far above, from the small distant opening where the world still is. The flowers have grown there over the years in exactly the place where fallen things come to rest, so that anyone who slips into the dark is caught, at the last, by something soft and living and gold. It is the first small mercy of a place that will offer many, and it tells you, before a single word is spoken, what kind of story this is going to be. The child rises and looks around, and there is only one way to go, forward, into the ruins of an ancient home. And so the journey begins, downward and inward, into a whole hidden world beneath the mountain, a world that most people above have forgotten was ever real, because long ago, longer than anyone still living can remember, this underground place became a refuge, and a prison, and a home for an entire race of beings who were driven down here and sealed away, and who have been waiting ever since in the dark for something the surface took from them and never gave back. To understand where the child has fallen, you have to go back, far back, to a time the underground world remembers only in old stories carved into stone. Once, long ago, the surface of the world was shared by two peoples. There were humans and there were monsters, and for a while they lived alongside one another under the same sky. But something went wrong between them, as it so often does, and a war broke out, a long and terrible war between human and monster. And when it was over, the humans had won. They were the stronger, or the more numerous, or the more afraid, and in their victory they did a cruel and final thing. They gathered their most powerful magicians, 7 of them, and together those 7 cast a great spell, a barrier sealing every monster deep beneath Mount Ebot, in the caverns and tunnels below, and locking the way out behind them. And so the monsters were trapped underground, cut off from the sky, from the sun, from the stars, from the whole wide world above. The barrier that held them was a thing of terrible strength. Anyone could pass down into it, falling in as the child did, but nothing could pass back out. Not a monster, not a soul, not a whisper of hope. They were sealed in, and the surface went on above them, forgetting, and the monsters below made the best home they could out of a prison, building towns in the dark, lighting their caverns with glowing stones and gentle magic, and telling their children the old stories of the sky they had lost, hoping, always hoping, that one day the barrier might break and they might climb back up into the light. The whole underground is shaped by that longing. Everywhere the fallen child wanders, there is a quiet ache beneath the ordinary life of the place, a sense of a people making do, making warmth, making kindness, in a world with a ceiling of stone where the sky should be. There are homes and shops and families and quarrels and love, all the ordinary business of living, carried on in the dark by people who have never once seen the sun, and who speak of it the way you might speak of a beautiful dream you had long ago and can only half remember. There is one thing that could break the barrier, and it is a heavy and sorrowful thing to learn. The barrier was sealed with the power of 7 human souls, and it can only be broken by the power of 7 human souls. Which means that for the monsters to go free, 7 humans must fall into the underground, and their souls must be taken. 6 such souls have already been gathered over the long years kept in the king's keeping, waiting, and the child who fell tonight walking down into the ruins on a bed of golden flowers is, though they do not yet know it, the 7th. The whole terrible arithmetic of the place turns on this small wandering child. To free a suffering people, a child must be sacrificed, and the story asks, gently and insistently, all the way through, whether there might be another way. Because here is the heart of this whole strange and beloved world, the thing that makes it unlike almost any other story of its kind. When the child meets the creatures of the underground, and those creatures, some frightened, some hostile, some simply following the only rules they have ever known, come at the child in the old ritual of combat, the child is never forced to strike back. There is always another choice. You can fight, yes, you can raise your hand against the creatures of the dark and cut your way through them toward freedom. But you can also refuse. You can talk to them and understand them and show them mercy and spare them and let every single one of them live. The whole journey turns on this quiet, radical possibility that you might pass through a world built for killing without killing anyone at all. The way this choice is offered is itself a small work of wonder. When a creature confronts the child, the world narrows to a small dark space, and the child's very soul appears, a small glowing heart, red as a candle flame, the essence of who they are made visible. And around that little heart, the creature's attacks move like slow, strange rain, patterns of light to be gently avoided. And the child dances their small heart through the gaps, unharmed, waiting, and instead of striking, you can reach out. You can act in small human ways. You can speak kindly or offer a compliment, or simply refuse to be cruel. And slowly, if you are patient, the creature's heart softens, and the fight drains out of it, and you can offer mercy, and it will let you pass. No one has to be hurt. No one has to die. The whole grammar of the game is built to let you be gentle, if you choose to be. The first place the child comes to, walking out of the flower bed, is the ruins, an old crumbling stretch of purple stone and quiet leaf-strewn halls, the remains of a home that monsters lived in long ago before they moved deeper into the mountain. And it is here that the child meets the first true face of this world, and it is a kind one. Her name is Toriel. She is a tall, gentle creature, something like a great soft goat standing upright, dressed in a simple robe, with a warm, low voice and sad, patient eyes. She finds the child alone and frightened in the ruins, and without a moment's hesitation, she takes them under her care. She guides them through the old puzzles of the place, showing them the way, warning them of dangers, worrying over them the way a mother worries. Toriel lives alone in the ruins, in a small tidy house that smells of cinnamon and butterscotch, and she takes the child home and bakes them a pie and gives them a room to sleep in. And for a little while the story becomes something almost unbearably tender, a lonely woman and a lost child, keeping each other company at the quiet edge of a forgotten world. She reads to them from her books about snails. She tells them, gently, that they can stay, that she will take care of them, that they never have to leave the ruins at all, never have to go deeper into the dangers below, never have to face what waits at the bottom of the mountain. She would keep them safe here forever, in this small warm house, if only they would let her. But the child cannot stay, and Toriel knows it, though it breaks her heart. For the way onward leads through a great locked door at the bottom of the ruins, and beyond it lies the rest of the underground, and freedom, and the king. And when the child insists on going, Toriel's calm gives way to something desperate and afraid. She tries to stop them, not out of cruelty, but out of love, out of a terror she carries that she cannot yet explain. Because Toriel has seen children fall into this world before. She has cared for them, and grown to love them, and watched them leave through that door, one after another, and never come back. She knows what waits below. She knows what the king must do to any human who passes, and she cannot bear to lose another one. Her whole quiet life in the ruins, it slowly becomes clear, is a kind of grief. A woman who has withdrawn from the world to a lonely house at its edge because the world took too much from her, and who cannot help loving the very thing she is most afraid to lose. If the child is gentle, they can pass her by without harm, and she will step aside at last and hug them and let them go, and ask only that they be safe, and that they never come back to the ruins, because she cannot bear to say goodbye twice. And then the great door opens, and the child steps through, into the cold, and the door closes behind them, and Toriel is left alone again in her small warm house with the smell of pie, and the books about snails, and the empty room where a child slept for a night. It is one of the first of many quiet heartbreaks the underground holds, and it lingers long after you have moved on. Beyond Toriel's door, the world turns to snow. The child steps out into a long white forest, the trees heavy with frost, the ground crunching underfoot, the air cold and still, and somewhere ahead lies a small town called Snowdin, all warm lights and wooden buildings huddled together against the endless winter of the caves. It is strange and lovely, this idea, a whole snowy town deep underground, where snow falls from a stone ceiling and no one quite knows why, and the people have simply made a cosy life out of the cold, with a shop and an inn and a tavern glowing golden in the white. And it is here, in the snowy forest, that the child meets two of the most beloved figures in this whole world, or in any world. Two skeleton brothers who could not be more different, and who love each other more than anything. The first is Sans. He is short and round-faced, and perpetually relaxed, dressed in a blue hoodie and slippers, with a lazy grin and a fondness for terrible puns, and a way of appearing exactly where he wants to be. He greets the child not with menace, but with a joke and a handshake, and an easy, watchful friendliness that hides something much deeper and much older than it first appears. Sans, you slowly come to understand, knows more than he says. He is tired in a way that has nothing to do with his slippers, and behind his lazy grin there is a sadness, and a knowledge that the story only reveals in pieces near the very end. The other brother is Papyrus, and he is everything Sans is not. Tall and loud and endlessly, ferociously enthusiastic, dressed in a costume he calls his battle body, Papyrus dreams with his whole heart of one day joining the royal guard, of being important, of being popular, of being seen and admired and loved. He sets elaborate puzzles in the snow to catch the human who has wandered into his forest, and he announces his plans at the top of his voice, and he is so transparently, cheerfully good that it is impossible not to adore him. Papyrus wants to capture the child in theory, to prove himself. But Papyrus could not truly hurt anyone if he tried. When it comes to it, when he finally faces the child, even his attacks are gentle, and even in defeat he offers friendship instead of anger, inviting the child to spend time with him, to be his friend, believing with total sincerity that anyone at all, can be a better person if only someone believes in them. There is a purity to Papyrus that the whole story treats as precious rather than foolish. He believes the best of everyone. He forgives instantly. He is certain that the human is good, deep down, even when there is little evidence for it, and his faith is so complete that it can, sometimes, make it true. and Sans watches over him with a quiet, fierce devotion that says everything about who Sans really is beneath the jokes. Whatever else Sans allows to happen in the underground, however lazy and detached he seems, he loves his brother without limit, and the safety and happiness of Papyrus is the one thing in all the world that Sans truly cannot let go. The child passes through Snowdin, through the puzzles and the jokes and the small, warm town, and out the other side, and the world changes again. Now the snow gives way to water, and the child comes to Waterfall, a place of deep blue caverns and glowing mushrooms and slow black pools, of dripping stone and soft distant music and pale light shining up from beneath the surface of the water. Waterfall is quieter than anywhere the child has been, and sadder and more beautiful. It is the kind of place you move through slowly, listening, because it feels like the walls themselves are remembering something. And they are. All through Waterfall there are flowers that glow with a soft blue light, and if you lean close to one and speak, it will hold your words and repeat them, over and over, in a small echoing voice. They are called echo flowers, and they are scattered everywhere in the wet dark, and each one holds the last thing that was ever said to it, so that walking through Waterfall you overhear the ghosts of old conversations, wishes made long ago, secrets whispered by monsters who have long since gone, all of it held gently in the flowers and repeated to anyone patient enough to listen. There is a whole quiet history breathing in that place, and much of it is sad, and all of it is tender. Waterfall is where the underground keeps its memory. On the walls, in some of the deeper caverns, there are ancient carvings, murals telling the old story of the war between humans and monsters, of the barrier, of the prophecy the monsters still whisper to one another, that one day an angel who has seen the surface will descend and free them all, or, in some tellings, will bring about the end of everything. The carvings do not say which. They only wait there in the dark, telling their old story to no one, until a child with a glowing red soul walks past and reads them, and begins, slowly, to understand what it might mean that they have fallen into this place, and what the monsters might be hoping they are, and what they might be afraid they are too. There is a ghost in Waterfall, drifting alone in a small quiet house named Napstablook. They are one of the most gently melancholy creatures in the whole underground, a shy, sad, kind spirit who makes music alone and worries that they are bothering everyone simply by existing. Napstablook does not want to fight. When the child encounters them, the ghost cries, and the tears fall upward. And if you are kind, if you simply try to comfort them, they will show you something small and lovely, lying down on the floor and letting themselves feel a little better, thanking you softly for staying. Napstablook is the kind of character a game usually forgets to make, a minor ghost with a whole tender inner life, lonely and gentle and easily hurt, and the story gives them exactly as much care as it gives anyone else. And there is a warrior in Waterfall, and she is magnificent. Her name is Undine, and she is the head of the Royal Guard, a fierce and fearless fish-like monster with flowing red hair and a suit of armour and a spear that she can summon out of the air. Undine is passion made into a person. She loves fiercely, and fights fiercely, and believes fiercely, and she has taken it upon herself to protect every monster in the underground with the whole force of her burning heart. She hunts the child through Waterfall, leaping across rooftops, hurling spears, absolutely determined to take the human soul that will help free her people. Because to Undine the child is the last thing standing between the monsters and the sky they have dreamed of for generations. She is not cruel. She is a hero. She simply happens to be the hero of the other side of the story. And yet even Undine, if the tale is walked gently, can become something other than an enemy. Her fury, it turns out, sits atop a deep and genuine love for her people, for her friends, for the shy scientist she secretly adores, for the small monster child who idolizes her and follows her around. And if the child refuses to fight her, if they endure her storm and simply will not strike back, and later show her kindness, Undine can be disarmed in the truest sense, her enmity slowly turning into one of the fiercest friendships the underground has to offer. There is a moment, if you follow the gentle path, where you end up in her house and she tries to teach you to cook, and it goes gloriously, ridiculously wrong, and the fearsome captain of the guard becomes, for a little while, simply a big-hearted friend making a mess in her kitchen. The story keeps doing this. It keeps taking the things that came to kill you and revealing the aching, loving person underneath. Waterfall holds smaller wonders too, tucked into its blue corners. There is a village of tiny strange creatures called Temmies, who speak in their own broken, excited language and sell their odd wares, and are somehow one of the most cheerful things in all the dark. There is an old turtle named Gerson, a shopkeeper who fought in the war long ago and remembers the surface, and who speaks with the weary humour of someone who has seen everything come and go. There is a mysterious hooded figure who ferries travellers between the regions of the underground in a boat, speaking in soft riddles, offering strange cryptic warnings that seem to point at secrets the story never fully explains. And there is a room, deep in Waterfall, where the ceiling glitters like a night sky, where the glowing gems in the stone look almost exactly like stars, and monsters come to make wishes on them, wishing on the only stars they have ever known, wishing to see the real ones, someday, above the mountain. It is one of the most quietly beautiful ideas in the whole game. A trapped people making wishes on the ceiling of their prison, mistaking crystals for stars, longing upward toward a sky they have never seen. Beyond Waterfall, the world grows hot. The child comes at last to Hotland, a region of red rock and rising steam, and rivers of glowing magma, where the air shimmers and great machines hum in the heat. And here lives the royal scientist, a small anxious lizard-like monster named Alphys. Alphys is brilliant and shy and deeply, painfully insecure, a nervous genius who loves cartoons and dramatic stories, and who has, over the years, tangled herself in a web of small lies and large secrets that she is terrified will one day come undone. She becomes the child's guide through Hotland, watching over them through cameras, calling them on the phone, helping them past its dangers, and slowly, awkwardly, becoming their friend. But Alphys carries a heavy guilt, and the deeper the child goes, the closer they come to the thing she has been hiding, the thing she did in the name of hope, down in a laboratory beneath the earth, that went terribly and tragically wrong. Alphys built something wonderful, at least, out in the light. She built Metaton. Metaton is a robot, a dazzling, glamorous, egomaniacal star, a television personality who hosts game shows and cooking segments and dramatic quizzes broadcast throughout the underground, all glittering lights and theatrical menace and boundless showmanship. He was created by Alphys to entertain the monsters and lift their spirits in the dark. And over time he became the underground's greatest celebrity, its brightest light, its beloved diva. When the child reaches Hotland, Metaton makes them the unwilling star of his shows, hurling them into game after ridiculous game, ostensibly trying to destroy the human on live television, while in truth giving the monsters the most exciting entertainment they have had in years. He is vain and dramatic and secretly kinder than he lets on. And there is, hidden inside that fabulous robot body, a small quiet history that connects him back to a lonely ghost in Waterfall, and to a longing to be seen and loved that the whole underground shares. Now it is worth pausing, as the child rests in the heat of Hotland, to speak of souls, because souls are the quiet heart of everything in this world. Every monster has a soul, and every human has a soul, but they are not the same. A monster's soul is fragile, and fades quickly when its owner dies, turning to dust and scattering, so that monsters, for all their magic, are in a sense far more delicate than the humans who feared them. A human soul is different. A human soul is strong and stubborn, and can persist even after death, lingering, glowing, holding its shape in a way no monster soul can. That strange persistence is the whole reason humans were so feared in the war, and the whole reason a human soul is powerful enough to help shatter the barrier. The strength of the human heart in this story is almost frightening. And human souls come in colours, each colour a different quality of the person who carried it. There is the deep blue of integrity, and the pale cyan of patience, and the orange of bravery, and the purple of perseverance, and the green of kindness, and the yellow of justice. And there is red, the colour of the child's own soul, the colour of determination. Determination is the rarest and most important quality of all in this world. The thing that lets a soul hold on, refuse to fade, refuse to give up, refuse even to accept death as final. It is determination that lets the child do the strangest and most powerful thing in the whole game, the thing that sits underneath the entire story like a secret engine, quietly humming, because the child, it turns out, can save. Not save in the ordinary way, not merely rest and recover, but truly save, holding a moment in place, so that if things go wrong, if the child falls, the world can be gently wound back to that saved moment and begun again, as if the failure never happened. It is spoken of within the world as the power of determination, the ability of a soul strong enough to bend time itself, to return, to try again, to refuse to let a single ending be the end. And this power, which feels at first like an ordinary convenience, is in truth one of the deepest and most unsettling ideas the story holds, because it means that the child and the presence guiding the child can undo anything, can experience a death and erase it, can make a choice and take it back, can hold the whole underground in a loop and turn it again and again until it comes out the way they want. And there is someone who used to hold that power before the child ever fell, and losing it is part of what broke him. But we will come to him. For now, simply rest in the strange, soft weight of it. The idea that in this world, nothing has to be permanent, that you can always go back, always try again, always choose differently. It is a comforting thought and a terrible one at the same time, and the story never quite lets you decide which. It only asks, quietly, what a person becomes when they can undo everything, and whether the ability to take back every choice makes those choices matter more or less. At the deepest heart of the whole underground, beneath all the towns and the caverns and the glowing wishing stars, there is a single sorrow, older than the child's fall, that everything else has grown up around. It is the sorrow of a family, a royal family, and it is the true story the game is telling underneath all the puzzles and the jokes. To understand it, you have to go back to a time before the child fell, back to when the underground still had a little hope in it, before the door to the ruins closed for the last time and the queen went to live alone. Long ago, before the child, another human fell into the underground. The very first human to fall, a child like this one, tumbling down through the dark and landing among the golden flowers. And that first child was found, not by an enemy, but by a young monster, the son of the king and queen, a gentle little creature named Asriel. Asriel found the fallen human and did not fear them. He brought them home, and the king and queen, Asgore and Toriel, took the human child in and raised them as their own, alongside their son, so that for a brief and precious while there were two children in the royal house, a young monster and a young human, brother and sibling growing up together, loved by their parents, the living proof that human and monster might belong to one another after all. For a little while the underground dared to hope that this child was a sign, that the long night was ending, that things might finally change. But the story of the first fallen child does not end in hope, and this is where the deep sadness of the underground truly begins. The human child grew sick, or grew troubled. The game is careful never to make it entirely clear, and there came a day when the child died. And in their last moments the two children had shared a wish, a plan, a desperate and tender and terrible idea, born of love and grief, and a longing to save everyone. The dying human wished to see the golden flowers of their home village one last time, on the surface, and Asriel, heartbroken, took the plan they had made together and tried to carry it out. When the human died, Asriel took their soul into his own body, the way a monster with a soul strong enough sometimes can, and with that human soul inside him, he became powerful enough to cross the barrier, and he carried the body of his fallen sibling up out of the mountain into the light to lay them to rest. And there on the surface, in the village of the humans, it all went wrong. The humans saw a monster carrying the body of a dead human child, and they did not understand, and they were afraid, and they attacked him. And Asriel, though he now held the power of a human soul, though he could have fought back and destroyed the whole village, did not raise a hand against them. He took their blows, and he fled back to the mountain, back down into the dark, mortally wounded, and he made it as far as the palace garden, and there among the golden flowers, in front of his parents, he fell, and his body turned to dust, and scattered across the flowers, and was gone. In a single day, the king and queen lost both of their children, the human they had raised, and the son they had borne. Both gone, both dead, and the underground's brief hope died with them. It is grief that reshaped the whole underground, because the king, Asgore, in his rage and sorrow, declared war upon humanity. He decreed that any human who fell into the underground from that day on would be killed, their soul taken, until 7 souls had been gathered, enough to break the barrier and let the monsters flood out and reclaim the surface and destroy the ones who had taken his children from him. It was a promise made in the worst moment of a father's life, and it gave the broken people a terrible kind of hope, a reason to keep going. But Toriel could not bear it. She could not stand beside a husband who would murder children, even human children, even to free her people. And so she left him, left the palace, left everything, and went to live alone in the ruins, waiting to catch the next child who fell, so that she might save at least one of them from the fate her husband had decreed. That is why she was there, at the very beginning, on the bed of golden flowers. That is the grief beneath her gentleness. She has been trying for a long time to save a child, any child, from the story her family became. And there is one more piece, the saddest and strangest of all. The dust of the dead Prince Asriel had scattered across the golden flowers in the garden, and long after the royal scientist Alphys, chasing the same desperate hope that drove everyone in the underground, took one of those golden flowers and used it in an experiment, injecting into it the essence of determination, that rare and powerful substance of the human soul, hoping to unlock its secrets. And the flower woke up. It came alive, and it could think and speak and move, and it remembered, in some broken way, being the prince. But it had no soul of its own. A monster cannot truly live again without a soul, and so what woke in that flower was the prince's mind and memories without the prince's heart. A creature that could recall love but could no longer feel it, and that hollow, soulless flower, unable to feel compassion, endlessly bored and endlessly alone, is the small yellow flower that greets the child at the very beginning of their journey, smiling, pretending to be friendly. His name is Flowey, and he is the dead prince, brought back wrong, and he has been trapped in the underground far longer and far more terribly than anyone else in it. Flowey's story is quietly one of the most frightening and most pitiable in the whole game, and it connects back to that strange power of determination, of saving and returning. Because when Flowey first woke, filled with determination, he discovered that he too could save, and reset, and turn the world back. And at first, being the prince, he used that power kindly. He tried to make everyone happy. He befriended the monsters, all of them, learned everything about them, did everything right, again and again. But it never lasted, because he could reset it all away, and no one but him would remember. And slowly, over countless loops, a creature with no soul and no ability to truly feel began to grow bored. and then cruel, and then empty in a way that is terrible to contemplate. He tried being good until being good meant nothing. He tried being evil to feel anything at all. He killed everyone he had loved, over and over, in loop after loop, searching for some feeling that would not come, and found nothing. Because without a soul there was nothing in him to feel it with. By the time the child falls into the underground, Flowey has been alone with that emptiness for a very long time, and he has given up on everyone, and he greets each new fallen human with a smile and a lie, because a smile and a lie are all he has left. That is the creature that meets the child among the flowers at the very beginning, and knowing his whole story changes everything about that first meeting. He is not a random villain, he is a grieving child who lost the ability to grieve, a person hollowed out by a power that let him undo everything until nothing meant anything anymore. And the whole rest of the game becomes in a way a quiet argument against him, a demonstration that even in a world where you can undo every choice, kindness still matters, mercy still matters, that the choices you make say something true about who you are, even if you can take them back, even if no one will remember. Flowey believes that in a world you can reset, nothing counts. The story spends its entire length gently, patiently proving him wrong. Beneath Hotland, hidden away, there is a place that holds the last of the underground's great sorrows, and finding it is optional, and quiet, and devastating. It is the True Lab, the secret laboratory beneath Alphys's workshop, dark and silent and humming with old machines, and it is where the thing she has been hiding all along finally comes to light. In her desperate hope to find a way to break the barrier, Alphys had experimented with determination, injecting it into monsters who had fallen down, who lay dying, hoping to bring them back, hoping to give them the persistence that human souls have. But monster bodies cannot hold that much determination. They are too soft, too fragile. And instead of being saved, the monsters melted and merged, their bodies and souls flowing together into strange, gentle, wandering things, no longer quite themselves, no longer able to die, no longer able to truly live. They are called the amalgamates, and they drift through the dark of the True Lab, lost and confused and harmless, made of the melted together forms of beloved family pets and neighbours and friends, monsters whose families still wait for them to come home, not knowing what became of them. Alphys could not bear to tell anyone. She could not tell the families that their loved ones were not dead, but were something worse, something in between, drifting in the dark beneath the earth. She hid them, and fed them, and carried the secret alone, and let everyone believe she was a great scientist, while the guilt of it slowly ate her from the inside. When the child finds the True Lab, and the amalgamates, and the truth, it is not a horror to be fought. The amalgamates do not want to hurt anyone. They are simply lost, and the gentlest thing the story asks of you in the end is not to defeat them, but to understand them, and to help Alphys finally face what she did, and forgive herself, and reunite the melted creatures with the families who love them still, who are simply glad, when it comes to it, to have them back in any form at all. Even here, in the darkest and most secret room in the whole underground, the story reaches, quietly, for grace. At the far end of the underground, past Hotland, past the core that powers the whole hidden world, there lies the capital, called New Home, a quiet grey city of tall buildings and long empty streets, and at its heart the palace of the king. And there the child must finally come face to face with Asgore Dreamer, the great sorrowful king who declared the war on humanity, the father who lost both his children, the one who holds the 6 human souls and needs only one more. Asgore is not a monster in the way you might fear. He is enormous and powerful and armoured, but he is also unbearably gentle. A huge soft-spoken creature who tends his garden of golden flowers and drinks his tea, and would, you feel at once, so much rather not be doing any of this. He does not hate the child. He never wanted this. He made a terrible promise in the worst moment of his life, and his whole people have been counting on him to keep it ever since, and he does not know how to stop. And so he goes through with it, weeping almost, apologizing, a king trapped by his own grief and his people's hope into an act he despises. The confrontation with Asgore is one of the heaviest moments in the game, because there is no clean way through it. He is not evil. He is just sad and stuck and bound by a promise he made when he had lost everything. And how the child faces him and what happens next depends entirely on the long road that brought them there, on every choice made in every snowy forest and glowing cavern along the way, on whether the child walked this world as a friend or as something else. For the underground offers more than one ending, and the endings are the truest measure of what the story is really about. If the child walked through the world without seeking out every friendship, sparing some and perhaps striking others, doing enough but not everything, they reach what is called the neutral ending, and it is a lonely, bittersweet thing. The barrier remains, the child leaves, or does not. And afterward a voice calls them, recounting what became of the underground and everyone in it, who rose to lead, who was mourned, how the small world went on turning in the dark after the child was gone. There are many versions of this ending, shaped by exactly who was spared and who was not, and each one is a small, quiet portrait of a world changed, for better or worse, by the passage of a single child. But if the child walked the whole world in gentleness, if they spared every creature, befriended the lonely skeleton and the fierce warrior and the anxious scientist, if they refused to take a single life and instead reached out to every heart along the way, then something far more beautiful becomes possible. This is the true ending, the one the whole story quietly hopes you will find, and it asks the child to go back, to mend what is broken, to help Alphys face her guilt and the amalgamates find their way home, to bring the estranged and the grieving back together, and finally to return to that palace not as a sacrifice but as a friend. And in that ending, at the very last, when it seems the tragedy must complete itself, the child's kindness reaches even the one who cannot feel, even the hollow flower, and through a great and strange and sorrowful confrontation, the dead prince is, for one shining impossible moment, made whole again, given back his heart, allowed at last to feel everything he lost, to weep, to remember, to love and be loved one final time before he must let go. And the barrier breaks, and the monsters, after all those long years in the dark, walk up out of the mountain and into the light, and see the sky and the sun and the real stars at last. It is one of the most cathartic and tender endings in any game ever made, and people cry at it, openly, and are not ashamed to. There is a third path, and it is the darkest one, and the game does not hide it, though it clearly wishes you would not walk it. If a person chooses to move through the underground not with mercy but with cruelty, hunting down every creature, sparing no one, killing not out of necessity but out of a cold curiosity to see what would happen, then the whole world responds. It grows quiet. The towns empty as their people flee in terror. The music fades, the warmth drains out of everything, and the child, or whatever is guiding the child, becomes a kind of quiet horror, moving through a world that has learnt to be afraid of them. The game makes this path deliberately joyless and grinding and lonely, as if to say, very softly, that there is nothing here for you, that this is not fun, that you have mistaken the ability to do a thing for a reason to do it. And on that dark path, when nearly everyone is gone, the child comes at last to a long golden hall, and there, waiting, is the lazy skeleton from the snowy forest, Sans, who has been watching all along, who has always known more than he said. And Sans, who never seemed to care about anything, who spent the whole journey cracking jokes and taking naps, turns out to be the last line of defence, the one who steps forward when everyone else has fallen, to stop the thing the child has become. He is, it is said, the hardest challenge in the entire game, not because he is strong in the ordinary way, for he is the frailest creature in the underground, but because he refuses to play fair with someone who has thrown fairness away, because he has watched this happen before across resets no one else remembers, because he is so tired and so sad and so utterly done with watching everyone he loves be taken from him. His quiet warning, delivered with that same lazy grin that you are going to have a bad time, has become one of the most famous moments in all of gaming, and beneath the meme of it there is something genuinely mournful. A small broken guardian making his last stand for a world that keeps ending. That dark path also reveals the strangest and most unsettling truth the game holds, connected to that first fallen child, the one whose name you are quietly asked to give at the very beginning, the sibling the prince loved and lost. For on the path of cruelty, a presence seems to wake, a first-person voice that was not there before, watching through the child's eyes, growing stronger with every life taken, until at the very end it steps forward and speaks for itself, and takes the reckoning of all that killing and turns it back upon the whole world. The game is deliberately, carefully ambiguous about who or what this presence truly is, whether it is the first fallen child returned, or something the player's own choices summoned into being, or a mirror held up to the person holding the controller. It never tells you plainly. It only asks, in the quietest and most uncomfortable way, who exactly has been making these choices all along, and what it means that you can make them, and whether the child was ever really the one in control. And most hauntingly of all, that darkest path leaves a mark that does not wash away. In a world where everything can be reset, where the child can always turn time back and try again, the game remembers this one thing. If a person walks the path of total cruelty and then tries to return, to reset, to go back and be gentle and earn the beautiful ending after all, the story will not quite let them. Something has changed that cannot be changed back. The happy ending, if they reach it, comes shadowed, subtly wrong, haunted by what was done before. The game insists in this one deep and permanent way that some choices leave a residue even determination cannot erase. That the ability to undo a thing is not the same as it never having happened. It is, in its strange and quiet way, one of the most moral ideas any game has ever built into its bones. But these darker roads are not the ones the story loves, and they are not where we will linger tonight. The underground was made, at its heart, to be a place of mercy. A world that hands you every possible reason to be cruel, and then gently, insistently, hopes you will choose not to be. Its truest ending is the kind one, the one where no one dies, where the lonely are befriended and the grieving are comforted, and a whole trapped people finally walk out into the light. That is the version of the story to carry down towards sleep. A snowy town of warm lights, a fierce warrior learning to love, a shy scientist forgiving herself, a sorrowful king setting down his terrible promise. A hollow flower, for one moment, feeling whole, and a mountain opening at last, letting the dark out into the dawn. On the gentle path, the underground slowly fills with warmth, and much of that warmth comes through a small ordinary thing. A phone the child carries through the whole journey. It begins as a way for the kind caretaker of the ruins to check on them, worrying from afar, calling to ask if they are eating enough. If they prefer cinnamon or butterscotch, small anxious loving questions from a mother who cannot quite let go. And over time, as the child makes friends, the phone fills with more voices, gains the ability to reach the people they have come to love, so that by the end the child is never truly alone in the dark, always a call away from a friend who is glad to hear from them. It is a small thing, a phone, but the game uses it to say something quietly enormous, that the antidote to the loneliness of the whole underground is simply connection, staying in touch, letting the people who care about you know that you are all right. And if the child walks the gentle path, the story gives them the loveliest reward of all, which is not treasure or power, but time spent with friends. There is an afternoon that can be spent with a tall, enthusiastic skeleton, who takes the child on a date so earnest and so pure that it disarms you completely, so determined to do everything right, that his kindness spills over into something the child never expected. There is an afternoon with the fierce warrior, learning to cook, the kitchen slowly filling with smoke and laughter, as her competitive spirit turns even a pot of pasta into a glorious battle. There is time with the shy scientist, helping her find the courage to be honest, to stop hiding, to face the people she loves without the mask of lies she has worn so long. These moments are not required. You can rush past them. But if you slow down, if you let yourself simply be with these strange, lonely creatures, the game rewards you with some of the most tender and funny and human scenes it has to offer, and you come to understand that the whole point of the journey was never really the barrier or the freedom at all. It was these afternoons, it was the friendships, it was learning, one lonely heart at a time, that no one down here has to be alone. It is worth resting before we go looking for the underground's deepest secrets, on the quiet question of what monsters truly are in this world, because the answer is gentler, and sadder than you might expect. Monsters here are not made of flesh the way humans are. They are made, the game tells us softly, mostly of magic, and of something like hope and love and dreams, so that their bodies are far more fragile than a human's, and their souls fade quickly when they die, scattering into dust. It means that for all their frightening appearances, the monsters are in truth the delicate ones, easily broken, easily lost. And it means something tender too, that a monster overflowing with love and compassion, a monster whose whole being is turned toward kindness, has almost no ability to harm anyone at all, because harming is simply not what they are made of. The gentlest monsters are, quite literally, the ones least able to hurt you. Their goodness is woven into their very substance. And in the kindest ending, after the barrier breaks, the game gives you a quiet epilogue that is worth carrying into sleep. The monsters step out onto the surface, and they do not conquer anything, and they do not take revenge. They simply begin to live. They look at the sunset, and the sky, and the sea. They make plans. The fierce warrior and the shy scientist grow closer. The king gently takes up a new and peaceful role. The skeletons find their place in the wide new world. And the child is offered a choice, softly, whether to return to the surface and live their own life among the humans, or to stay and be taken in and become part of this strange found family of monsters who have come to love them. Either way, they are not alone anymore, and neither is anyone else. The whole long story, all its sorrow and all its dark, resolves at the last into something as simple and as enormous as a group of people who are lonely finding one another and stepping out of the dark together into the morning. The underground keeps deeper secrets still, buried so far down in the code and the corners of the world that most who play never find them, and they are the kind of thing devoted people have spent years quietly piecing together in the dark. The strangest of them all is a figure who is barely there at all, a scientist who came before Alphys, spoken of only in fragments, in a handful of grey characters who appear once and vanish, in cryptic warnings in a name that surfaces and sinks. He is remembered, when he is remembered, as the royal scientist who built the core, the great machine at the heart of Hotland that gives the whole underground its power and its warmth. And the story that clings to him, half told, is that he fell into his own creation, into the core, and was destroyed in a way that unmade him, scattering his very being across space and time, erasing him so thoroughly that most of the world does not remember he ever existed at all. His name, the fragments suggest, was Gaster, and finding any trace of him is a matter of the rarest chance. There is said to be a hidden value, deep in the game's workings, a quiet dial that most players never touch, and only when it lands on a single specific number, one possibility out of a great many, does a strange grey door appear in an out-of-the-way corner of Waterfall, leading to a dark room where a shadowy figure speaks a few broken lines and then is gone. There are followers of his, grey monsters who flicker into a few rooms and murmur cryptic things about a man who came before, a man who fell, a man whose experiments tore him apart and then flicker out again as though they were never there. He is the game's deepest ghost, a character who exists mostly in his own absence, a scientist so thoroughly erased that the only thing left of him is the shape of the hole where he used to be. and the story never explains him, never resolves him. Leaves him deliberately as a mystery for people to wander over in the dark for as long as they care to, which turns out to be a very long time indeed. There are other quiet threads left dangling, other small mysteries and interpretations that the game plants and then gently declines to answer. Behind the lazy skeleton's house there is said to be a locked workshop, and inside it a strange covered machine and a torn photograph of people the child does not recognise and cannot place, hinting that Sans too remembers things from before, things that were erased, people who were lost. These are the kinds of details the game leaves lying about like half-remembered dreams, never confirmed, never denied, offered to anyone patient and curious enough to notice them, so that even after you think you have seen everything, the underground keeps a few soft secrets folded away, waiting. And running through the whole strange world, appearing in the most unexpected places, there is a small white dog. It naps in inconvenient spots. It steals important artifacts and runs off with them. It burrows into sand and turns up in locked rooms and generally wanders through the underground doing whatever it likes, entirely immune to the story's rules. This little dog is the game's own quiet signature, a small self-portrait tucked into the world by the person who made it, a gentle joke about the one presence in the underground more powerful than any king or god or barrier, the creator himself, watching over his creation in the shape of a sleepy, mischievous, thoroughly content little dog. Wherever the dog appears, the game is smiling at itself and at you, and reminding you, softly, that all of this was made by a person, with love for you to find. Because that is perhaps the most remarkable fact of all about this world, and it deserves a quiet place in the night. This idea that nearly all of it, the whole underground and everyone in it, was made very largely by a single person. The towns and the caverns, the puzzles and the endings, the fierce warrior and the shy scientist and the sad skeleton. Every line of strange, funny, tender dialogue, the branching paths and the secret rooms and the hidden scientists scattered across time. And above all the music, all of it flowed from one young man working mostly alone, teaching himself to do the work of a whole studio out of nothing but a vision he could not let go of. His name is Toby Fox. He was a young man from New Hampshire, born in the autumn of 1991, who had grown up loving old role-playing games, the kind with pixel art and strange humour and heart, and who had spent his younger years making small games and modifications and, most of all, writing music. He had a gift for melody, a real one, and he had cut his teeth composing songs for a sprawling online comic, learning as he went how to make a tune carry a feeling. And somewhere in those years he began to dream of making a game of his own, a role-playing game where the old expected rule, that you fight the monsters and kill them and grow stronger, might be quietly overturned, where you might instead be able to spare them, to befriend them, to refuse the violence the whole genre took for granted. It was a small, strange idea, and he was not at all sure anyone would want it. To find out, in the spring of 2013, he put the idea out into the world and asked for help making it real, hoping to raise a modest sum. Just enough to give himself time to build a small game. He asked for a few $1,000s. he received in the end more than 50,000 from thousands of strangers who had read his pitch and heard his music and believed in the odd little vision he described. And with that faith at his back, he set to work, and he worked, mostly alone, for years, writing the code himself, designing the world himself, writing every character and every joke and every heartbreak himself, and composing himself the entire soundtrack, more than 100 pieces of music, each one woven so carefully into the world that the melodies themselves became characters, returning and transforming, a single tender theme reappearing across the whole game in a dozen different forms, so that by the end the music alone can bring you to tears simply by reminding you of everything that came before. He did not do all of it entirely alone. A friend, an artist named Temi Chang, drew much of the game's art and gave it its gentle, expressive, slightly wobbly charm, and lent her name affectionately to the strange little creatures in their hidden village. But the great bulk of the work, the vision and the writing and the music and the design, came from one person, working long hours, coming up with ideas during his classes and going home to build them, driven by a certainty about what this game should be that he somehow never lost across all those years. And it took its toll on him, this way of working. He has spoken since of the pain it cost him, real physical pain in his hands and wrists from the endless hours of composing and coding, pain he still carries. A quiet reminder written into his own body of how much of himself he poured into that small underground world. Some of the game's spirit was inherited gratefully from the games its maker had loved as a boy. He has often spoken of his deep affection for an old and strange role-playing series from decades before. A quirky, funny, quietly profound set of games that mixed everyday life with cosmic sorrow that let ordinary children face enormous things. That balanced silliness and heartbreak the way he would one day balance them himself. That old influence runs all through the underground, in its humour, in its heart, in its willingness to be odd and earnest at the same time, and its maker has never hidden the debt. He built his own strange, gentle world in part to carry forward the feeling those older games had given him. The sense that a game could be funny and sad and kind and true all at once, and could matter to a person for the rest of their life. Even the game's most famous piece of music carried a long history by the time it reached the underground. The furious, thrilling theme that plays during the Lazy Skeleton's final stand, the one so many people know even if they have never played the game, was not written for it at all. Its maker had composed an early version of that melody years before for a small Halloween project made in his youth, and had used it again in the online comic he wrote music for, so that by the time it became the Skeleton's theme, it had already lived several lives. There is something fitting in that the song of the character who remembers things across resets and timelines should itself be a melody that had lived before, in other worlds, carrying its strange energy forward from project to project until it finally found the place it was always meant to be. It is a small echo of the game's own deepest ideas, hidden in the history of a single tune. And then, in the autumn of 2015, on the 15th of September, the game was finished, and it was released into the world, and the world was not ready for how much it would come to love it. Quietly at first, and then not quietly at all, the little game about mercy became a phenomenon. Players discovered that it remembered them, that it seemed to know what they had done, that it responded to their choices in ways no game had before, that its funny odd surface hid a story of extraordinary tenderness and sorrow underneath. Word spread and spread and spread. Millions of people descended into the underground and came back changed, carrying the skeletons and the ghost and the fierce warrior and the sad flower with them, weeping at the true ending, arguing over the mysteries, falling in love with a small pixel world made by one young man who had only hoped it might find a few kind players. In the years that followed, the little underground grew into something far larger than itself. Its music travelled everywhere, its characters became beloved far beyond the people who had played the game, and the sad lazy skeleton in particular became a kind of icon, so widely loved that he was eventually invited into the greatest gathering of gaming's heroes, appearing as a fighter alongside the most famous characters in the medium, his battle set to a triumphant new arrangement of his own theme. A small, strange indie skeleton standing shoulder to shoulder with legends, which felt, to the people who loved him, exactly right. The game was played and shared by countless voices online, watched by millions who experienced its story second-hand and were moved by it anyway, and it settled over time into the small permanent company of games that people call not just good but important, games that changed what the medium believed it could do. And its maker did not vanish into that success. He kept making music, lending his melodies to other games, to great famous series, quietly becoming one of the most admired composers in all of gaming. And he began, slowly and mysteriously, to build something new. On a night in the autumn of 2018, without warning, he released the first chapter of a strange new game. Free for anyone to play, a game called Deltarune, set in a world that felt at once familiar and utterly different, full of the same characters wearing different lives, telling a new story with its own secrets and its own sorrows. Deltarune is a separate world, a parallel dream of the Underground's people, and its maker has been building it, chapter by chapter, in the years since, releasing them slowly as the long, careful work allows, with more still to come. It is a gift he keeps returning to, the way the flowers keep growing where fallen things land, another whole world unfolding gently over years for everyone who loved the first. And the Underground itself has not been forgotten. When the game turned 10 years old, in the autumn of 2025, its maker marked the occasion not with spectacle, but with kindness, playing through the whole game again across 2 long quiet evenings, sharing it with the community that had grown up around it, and turning the celebration toward good, raising a great deal of money for a charity that brings medical care to people in the hardest places in the world. It was a fitting way to mark a decade of a game about mercy, to spend its birthday being merciful, gathering the people who loved it, and pointing all that love outward, towards strangers who needed help. 10 years on, the small underground world was still doing exactly what it had always done, quietly making people a little gentler than they were before. Which brings us, as the night grows soft and heavy, to the question of why. Why this small pixel game about a child and some monsters under a mountain reached so deep into so many people and stayed. Why grown adults weep at its endings and carry its characters around inside them for years. why it is spoken of so often, in the same hushed tones people use for the things that changed their lives. There is something in it, some quiet truth about being alive that most louder and grander stories never quite manage to say. Part of it, surely, is the mercy. The simple radical idea that you do not have to hurt anyone, that a whole world can be built to hand you every reason and every tool for violence, and that you can walk through all of it and choose again and again to be kind instead, and that the game will love you for it, will open its most beautiful secrets to you, will give you its truest and most tender ending only if you refuse to harm a single soul. In a medium that so often rewards you for killing, here was a game that rewarded you for sparing, that treated every enemy as a person with a history and a heart and a reason, that insisted, gently and completely, that understanding is always possible, that no one is beyond reaching, that mercy is not weakness but the hardest and bravest thing there is. People felt that. It changed how some of them thought about the games they played, and quietly about the people around them, and part of it is the way the game remembers. The way it seems to know you are there, watching, choosing. The way it responds not just to the child on the screen, but to the person holding the controller, so that the story becomes, quietly, about you, about the choices you make when you think no one is watching, about who you are when a world hands you total power over it. It is a story about saving and resetting, about the temptation to undo every mistake, about what a person becomes when nothing they do has to be permanent, and it turns that idea over so gently and so wisely that it becomes, in the end, a meditation on consequence itself, on the strange truth that our choices matter precisely because we cannot always take them back, that the residue of what we do stays with us even when the world moves on. Few games have ever reached out through the screen and touched the player so directly, and fewer still have done it with such tenderness rather than such trickery. But most of all, perhaps, it is the loneliness and the love that answers it. Every character in the Underground is in some quiet way lonely, a queen alone in her ruins, grieving children, a king alone in his garden, bound by a terrible promise, a skeleton carrying knowledge he cannot share, a scientist drowning in a secret, a ghost who fears he is a burden simply by existing, a flower who lost the ability to feel, a whole people trapped beneath a mountain, making wishes on a ceiling of stone, longing for a sky they have never seen. And into all that loneliness comes a small child who will not fight, who reaches out instead, who listens and understands and stays, and by the simple act of refusing to be cruel, gathers all those lonely aching hearts together and carries them, at the last, up out of the dark and into the light. It is a story that says, the loneliest and most broken among us can still be reached, can still be loved, can still be freed, if only someone is patient and gentle enough to try. And that is a thing worth falling asleep believing. There are gentler truths woven all through the Underground, two small tender details that fans hold close, and they are worth gathering up quietly before the world softens into sleep. All through the caverns there are points of light, little glimmers scattered across the dark, and when the child steps into one, a soft feeling settles over them, and the moment is held, saved, made safe. The game gives this feeling a name each time, drawn from whatever is near, a warm hearth glimpsed through a window, the smell of a pie, the sight of a friend, the sound of the sea, and it says, gently, that seeing this fills you with determination. It is a lovely small idea, that determination, the very power that lets the child persist and return, comes not from anger or ambition, but from small warm things, from home, from friendship, from the ordinary beauty of a world worth staying alive in. You are made able to go on by the things you love. Even here, the game is quietly kind. There is a hidden gentleness too, in the way the game handles the very idea of growing stronger. In most stories of this kind, you defeat your enemies and gain experience and rise through levels, and no one thinks twice about it. But the Underground quietly turns that on its head. It reveals softly that the strength gained from killing is a different and darker kind of thing than it appears. That the levels earned through violence are really a measure of how much easier it has become to hurt. That experience of that sort is really the residue of harm done. It reframes the whole familiar machinery of getting stronger as a slow hardening of the heart, a growing distance from other people, and it lets you feel, if you walk the gentle path, how much better it is to stay soft, to stay weak in that particular way, to never learn how easy hurting someone can become. It is one of the quietest and most humane ideas ever folded into a game, hidden right inside the numbers most games never question. The combat itself, gentle as it is, holds its own small wonders. When the child's soul appears in that little dark box, it is not always the same. Sometimes it turns from red to blue and grows heavy, and can only leap and fall as if bound by gravity, so that the fierce warrior's spears must be jumped rather than dodged. And some attacks glow with warning, white ones to be avoided, and others that ask you to hold perfectly still and let them pass harmlessly through, teaching you gently that sometimes the safest thing to do is simply to stop and wait and not react at all. And instead of fighting, you can always choose to act, to check a creature and learn its secret heart, to flirt or console or encourage, to find the small human key that unlocks each one, and the game delights in these, in the strange specific gestures that turn each enemy from a threat into a friend. It is a whole language of gentleness, built where other games build only weapons. And the Underground is full of small warm faces the child meets only briefly, each one drawn with the same care as the great sorrowful kings and queens. There is a little monster child who idolizes the fierce warrior and follows the human around with wide-eyed wonder, tripping over their own feet, too pure to understand who they are even talking to. There is a bartender made of quiet fire who runs a cosy tavern in the snowy town, where the skeleton has a tab and everyone knows everyone. There is a spider who runs a bakery in the heat, connected to a small bake sale run by tiny spiders back in the ruins, selling pastries to help their own kind, so that a single act of kindness at the beginning can be remembered warmly at the end. There are two easygoing shopkeepers with a stall of odds and ends, and a weary young worker at a fast food counter dreaming of anywhere else, and a melancholy training dummy, and a nervous nice cream vendor whose treats have little kind messages written on the wrappers. None of them are important to the plot. All of them are lovingly completely alive. That is simply how the Underground was made. Everyone in it, down to the smallest passing face, was given a heart. There is one more quality worth naming, because it is a large part of why the underground reaches people so deeply, and that is the way it holds laughter and heartbreak in the very same hand. For all its sorrow, this is one of the funniest games ever made. It is full of terrible, wonderful puns, of absurd little jokes tucked into every corner, of characters so ridiculous and so endearing that you laugh out loud at them again and again. And it never treats that humour as separate from its sadness. The same skeleton who makes the worst jokes in the world carries the heaviest sorrow in it. The same silly, enthusiastic characters who make you laugh are the ones who break your heart. The game understands something true about being alive, that the funny and the sad are not opposites, but neighbours, that the people who make us laugh the hardest are often carrying the most, that joy and grief live right next to each other in every real heart, and so it lets you laugh and lets you cry, sometimes in the very same moment, and never once asks you to choose between them. There is an emblem too that appears throughout the underground, carved above thrones and stitched into banners, an old symbol of the monster kingdom, a winged circle above 3 triangles, ancient and a little mysterious. It is tied somehow to the old prophecy the monsters whisper, the one about an angel who has seen the surface descending into the dark, though whether that angel would bring salvation or an ending the carvings never quite agree. The symbol waits there in the stone, watching over the whole story, its full meaning left deliberately half hidden. A quiet promise that there is more to this world than any single journey through it reveals, more waiting beneath the surface, more that its maker has still, even now, only begun to show. It is the kind of gentle, unresolved mystery that keeps a world alive in people's minds long after the story ends, a door left softly ajar. So let the details soften now, and drift, and blur. You do not need to hold on to the names, or the paths, or the endings, or any of it. It is all still there, safe under the mountain, waiting for you whenever you wish to return. But for now, you can simply let it become a warm, dim feeling, a gentle underground glow, and let yourself sink down into it the way the fallen child sank down onto that soft bed of golden flowers, caught at the very last by something kind. Picture the snow falling in Snowdin, soft and slow from a ceiling of stone, the little town glowing golden against the white, the warm light spilling from the tavern window, the smell of the inn, the quiet of a small town at the end of a long day. The skeleton brothers are home. The taller one has cooked something ambitious and slightly disastrous, and the shorter one is dozing on the couch with that easy grin, and outside the snow keeps falling, soft and endless, covering the frozen forest in a deep and gentle hush. Rest there a while in the warm snowy quiet, where nothing needs doing and no one needs fighting, and the whole cold town is settling down to sleep. Picture waterfall, deep and blue and still, the glowing mushrooms lighting the dark, the slow black pools, the soft distant music that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. The echo flowers are glowing all around, holding their old whispered wishes, repeating them gently to no one, over and over, soft blue voices in the dark. And above you the ceiling glitters like a night sky, the crystals in the stone shining down like stars, close enough to wish on. and you could lie back here on the cool stone and look up at those gentle false stars and let every wish you were carrying float up quietly into the dark. Let your breathing slow now, soft and even, in through the nose, out even slower, like a tide going quietly out. There is nothing left to solve tonight. No path to choose, no puzzle to work through, no one to face. You have wandered the whole underground, from the golden flowers to the sky, and now you can simply lie down in the middle of it and let it hold you, and let the last of the day's weight sink down through the bed and away. Think of the golden flowers, the ones that catch everything that falls, growing in that patch of pale light at the very bottom of the mountain. They have grown there for years, in exactly the place where fallen things come to rest, so that no one who slips into the dark ever lands on cold stone. They are always there, always soft, always waiting to catch whatever comes down out of the light. Let yourself be caught by them now. Let yourself land softly. You do not have to hold yourself up anymore. Something gentle is waiting to catch you, and it always was. Think of the true ending, the kindest one, the one where no one is lost, the barrier breaking at last after all those long dark years, the monsters walking up out of the mountain, the queen and the king and the skeletons and the fierce warrior and the shy scientist and the dazzling star and the shy sad ghost, stepping out of the cave into the open air and stopping and going quiet, because there above them is the thing they had only ever dreamed of, the real sky, wide and endless, and the sun going down gold over the hills, and the first real stars beginning to come out, one by one, in a sky with no ceiling at all. After so long in the dark, they simply stand there together and look up, and no one says anything, because there is nothing to say that would be big enough. Rest there, in that hush, under the first real stars, with a whole freed people looking up beside you. Everyone is safe now, in that gentle ending. Toriel has her home and her children and her books about snails, and she is not alone anymore. Asgore has set down his terrible promise and tends his golden flowers in the sunlight now, gently harming no one. The skeleton brothers are together under the open sky, the tall one delighted by everything, the short one finally, truly able to rest. The fierce warrior and the shy scientist are side by side. The star shines on, the ghost is loved, and even the hollow flower, for one shining moment, was allowed to feel everything again, to be the child he had been, to weep and remember and be held, before he let go. No one is trapped anymore. No one is lonely anymore. The long night under the mountain is over, and the morning has come, and everyone is standing in it together, warm in the new light. Let that warmth settle over you as you drift. The long night ending. The light returning. A whole world of lonely aching hearts gathered up and carried gently into the dawn, simply because someone chose, again and again, to be kind instead of cruel. That is the whole story in the end. That is the thing worth carrying down into sleep. That kindness is possible. That mercy is stronger than it looks. That the loneliest heart can still be reached. That even under a mountain, in the deepest dark, the morning can still come. You are so heavy now, and so warm, sinking softly down into the bed, held and safe. Your arms are heavy, your legs are heavy, your breath moves slow and easy, all on its own, and the underground glows quietly somewhere in the deep of you, a small kind world that will keep on turning gently in the dark all through the night, waiting patiently, catching whatever falls, offering mercy to anyone who comes. You do not have to do anything now. You have wandered far enough. You can rest. If any small thought still lingers, any little worry left over from the day, let the golden flowers catch it too. Let it fall softly and be held. You do not have to carry anything down into sleep tonight. The underground is very good at holding things gently, at catching what falls, at offering the tired and the lost a soft place to land. Hand it whatever you are carrying, and let yourself grow lighter and lighter, and let the gentle dark take you down. Let the music carry you the rest of the way. All through that underground world there is a single gentle melody that keeps returning. Quietly, in 100 different forms, appearing softly in one place as a lullaby, in another as a memory, in another as a promise. The same tender theme woven through the whole story, so that by the end it belongs to everyone in it. It is the sound of home, of hope, of the thing the monsters lost and longed for. And it is playing now, very softly, very far away, the way music sounds when you are almost asleep, drifting up from somewhere deep in the mountain, asking nothing of you, simply holding the whole dim world in its gentle arms. Let it play you down. Let it carry you the way it carried everyone, softly, into the light. Imagine you are drifting slowly through waterfall on that quiet little boat, the way travellers do, the water dark and smooth beneath you, the glowing flowers and the false stars sliding gently past, the soft blue light all around, and no need to steer, and no need to arrive anywhere, just the slow drift through the dark and the quiet, carried along by a current you can trust completely. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to go anywhere. Just let the boat carry you through the soft blue dark, past the glowing flowers, under the gentle false stars, deeper and slower and further down towards sleep. There is a kind of peace in a world where nothing is ever truly the end, and you can rest in that tonight. In the underground, even death could be undone, even the worst day could be wound back and begun again. Even the most final things were not quite final. And whatever that meant for the story's deeper questions, there is a soft comfort you can borrow from it now, as you drift. The comfort of knowing that tomorrow is a fresh beginning, that the day you are leaving behind is not the end of anything, that you will wake to a new morning and a clean start, the way the fallen child always could. Nothing is final tonight. Everything can begin again in the morning. For now there is only rest. Feel how far away the world has become. The bed is holding all of you now, soft and warm and complete. Your breath is slow. Your body is heavy. Your thoughts are drifting apart further and further, like snow settling in a quiet forest, like echo flowers falling silent one by one, like the last lights of a small town going dark for the night. There is nothing to reach for. There is nowhere to be. There is only the gentle underground glow, and the soft returning melody, and the deep warm dark holding you as you sink. Let the world grow dimmer still. Let the caverns go quiet. In Snowdin the snow keeps falling, soft on the sleeping town. In Waterfall the false stars keep shining, gentle in the dark. The golden flowers keep growing at the bottom of the mountain, always ready to catch whatever falls. And far above, past the broken barrier, the real stars are out now, the true ones, wide and endless over a freed and sleeping world. Everything is quiet. Everything is resting. Everything is exactly where it should be, safe in the gentle dark. Everyone in the underground is sleeping now. The queen in her home, no longer alone. The king in his garden, his terrible promise set down at last. The skeleton brothers, one snoring softly, one finally at rest. The warrior and the scientist, side by side. The star dimmed and dreaming. The ghost, no longer afraid of being a burden. The small strange villagers in their village. The old turtle in his shop. And the child, the one who chose kindness, curled up somewhere warm and safe. Their small red heart quiet and steady. Their long gentle journey through the dark finally wholly done. All of them sleeping. All of them safe. And you among them now, resting in the same soft dark that holds them all. If you are still here with me, still awake in the soft dark, that is all right. There is no wrong way to do this. You do not have to try to sleep. Trying is the opposite of resting. So let go even of that, and just lie here in the gentle glow of the underground, and let the images drift by, one after another, slow and warm, and let them carry whatever weight is left in you softly down into the dark. Let us wander the underground one last time, very slowly, and let each place be a soft place to set your attention down for a moment before moving on. Here is the bed of golden flowers at the bottom of the mountain, glowing in its patch of pale light. Rest there a moment. Here are the quiet purple halls of the ruins, leaf-strewn and still, with the smell of cinnamon and butterscotch drifting from a small warm house. Rest there a moment. Here is the snowy forest, the frost heavy on the trees, the little town glowing gold in the white. Rest there in the soft falling snow. Here is Waterfall, deep and blue, the echo flowers glowing, the false stars shining down from the stone. Rest there, by the dark water. Here is the wishing room, where a trapped people came to wish on crystals they had mistaken for stars, and the whole ceiling glitters gently overhead. Rest there and make no wish at all, and simply look up. Here is the warm red glow of Hotland, and past it the quiet grey streets of the capital, empty and peaceful now, all its old sorrows finally set down. Rest there, in the gentle quiet, and here, at the very last, is the top of the mountain, and the broken barrier, and the open sky, and the sun going down gold over the hills, and the first real stars coming out. Rest there. You have arrived. There is nowhere further to go, and nothing further to do. and no dark left to pass through. Only the open sky and the gentle evening and rest. Breathe in, slow and soft, and breathe out, slower still. Feel yourself growing lighter and softer and farther away. The underground is a lullaby now, not a place but a feeling, a warm dim glow that holds you as you sink. In and out. Slow and slower. There is all the time in the world. The mountain will keep its gentle watch without you tonight. You have wandered far enough. You have been kind enough. You can let the whole quiet world go on, glowing softly in the dark while you sleep. Hold one gentle thing and let it be enough. A small red heart, glowing steady and warm in the dark. Safe now, quiet now, no longer dodging anything, no longer afraid. Just glowing, softly, in the gentle dark, the way a nightlight glows, the way an ember glows, the way your own quiet heart is glowing now, steady and warm and safe as you drift. Let that soft red glow be the last thing you hold as you fall. Steady, warm, safe, yours. The snow is falling in the sleeping town. The false stars are shining in the blue dark. The golden flowers are waiting to catch whatever falls. The gentle melody is playing, soft and far, and the whole underground is glowing quietly in the deep of the mountain, holding all its sleeping hearts and holding you among them as you sink down into the warm and gentle dark. Softer now, slower now. Let the words come further apart. Let the spaces between them grow. There is no need to follow any more. Just drift. Just breathe. Just sink gently into the soft warm dark. The underground is here. The underground is quiet. The underground is holding you, and you can let go all the way now down into sleep. And if some small awake part of you is still listening, here is a gentle thing to rest on, a true thing about that underground world, told softly. In all its dark caverns and all its long corridors, in every single encounter the child ever faces, there was always another way. There was never a moment when cruelty was the only option. However fierce the creature, however frightening the confrontation, the game always left a door open toward mercy, always gave you a way to reach the heart of the thing that stood before you and spare it. Not once did it force your hand. That was the deepest kindness built into its bones, that in a whole world made for fighting, you were never once required to harm anyone at all. Rest on that. A world where the gentle path is always there, always open, always waiting, no matter how dark things seem. You have only to choose it. Rest, too, on the simple shape of that story, because it is the oldest and most comforting shape there is. A long descent into the dark, a slow passage through cold and difficulty and sorrow, and then, at the last, after everything, a return to the light, down and then up, night and then morning. That is the shape the whole underground is built on, and it is the shape of every night you have ever slept through, and every morning you have ever woken to. However deep the dark, the way leads up again in the end. However long the night, the morning always comes. Let that be a soft comfort as you drift down into your own gentle dark. The morning is coming, it always does. You have only to rest and let the night carry you and it will bring you up again into the light. Let the underground turn slowly now, somewhere in the deep of you, glowing and quiet, keeping its gentle watch. The child is safe. The monsters are free. The barrier is broken, and the sky is open, and the long dark night beneath the mountain is over at last. There is nothing left to fear down there. There is only warmth, and mercy, and rest, and a small red heart glowing steady in the dark, and a gentle melody drifting up from far below, playing everyone softly to sleep. You're so heavy now, so warm, so far away. The bed is holding all of you. The dark is soft and kind. Your breathing has gone slow and quiet, moving on its own, needing nothing from you. And somewhere down in the mountain the golden flowers keep their patient watch, always ready to catch whatever falls, so that no one who slips into the dark ever lands on anything but something soft. Let yourself be caught by them now all the way. Let yourself land softly. Let yourself sink into the gentle glow and rest. The snow is falling. The false stars are shining. The flowers are waiting. The melody is playing, soft and far. And you are held, safe, warm, drifting down into the deep and gentle dark, cradled by a small kind world that only ever wanted you to be gentle, and to be gentle with yourself, and to rest. Let the light dim all the way down now. Let the words fade to almost nothing. Let the underground become just a warm, dim glow, and then not even that, just warmth, just softness, just the deep and gentle dark. You are safe. You are held. You're exactly where you need to be. There is nothing left to do. There is nowhere left to go. There is only rest and the soft dark and a small red heart glowing quietly somewhere deep in the mountain, keeping you company as you fall asleep. We are near the end of our long, slow wander now, and there is nothing left to learn, nothing left to choose, nothing left to do but drift the rest of the way down. So let me simply stay here beside you a little longer, in the warm dark, and let the whole underground settle into sleep around us both, soft and quiet, like snow falling on a small town that has finally gone to bed. Imagine the whole underground from far above, the way you might see it in a dream, all its regions glowing gently in the dark of the mountain, the bed of golden flowers at the very bottom, soft in its pale light, the quiet purple ruins, still and peaceful, the snowy forest and its little golden town hushed under falling snow, the deep blue caverns of waterfall glowing with flowers and false stars, the warm red glow of Hotland, its great machine humming low, the quiet grey capital, its old sorrows set down at last, and far above it all, the mountain's peak and the broken barrier and the open sky, all of it glowing softly, all of it quiet, all of it turning gently towards sleep, and every heart down there is at rest tonight. The Queen, no longer alone, dreaming in her warm home. The King, gentle again, sleeping in the scent of his golden flowers. The lazy skeleton, finally truly resting, his long, tired watch over at last. His brother dreaming enormous happy dreams. The fierce warrior and the shy scientist close and safe. The dazzling star dimmed to a soft glow. The sad ghost at peace, loved, no longer afraid. The small, strange villagers curled up in their village. The old turtle dozing in his shop. And the child who chose kindness, safe and warm, their small red heart quiet and steady, their gentle journey through the dark wholly and finally done. Breathe in, slow and soft, and breathe out, slower still. You are drifting now, further and further, down and down, The underground is fading to a warm dim glow, and then to a soft warm nothing, and you are sinking below it into the deep still quiet of sleep. There is nothing to hold, there is nothing to keep. Just let go gently all the way, and let the soft dark take you down. The flowers are waiting to catch you, the melody is playing you down, the snow is falling, the false stars are shining, and a small red heart glows steady and warm in the deep of the mountain, keeping watch over you as you fall. Rest now. You have wandered far enough. You have been kind enough. Let your breath go slow. Let your body go heavy. Let the golden flowers catch you. The snow is falling softly. The stars are out at last. The long night is ending. The morning is coming. You are safe. You are held. You can let go now. Sleep well wherever you are in the world tonight. Sleep deep and sleep soft, and let the gentle underground keep its quiet watch in the dark while you rest. The flowers will catch you. The morning will come. Everyone is safe, and the barrier is broken, and the sky is open at last. Good night. Good night. Rest now, and be gentle with yourself, and dream of open skies and small kind hearts glowing warm in the dark. Good night.